Thank you very much. It is great to be in Oldham County. I'm quite familiar with Oldham County. We do get a lot of students from Oldham County. In fact, there is a sheet at your table that looks like that will kind of give you a snapshot of our student population from Oldham County that you might want to look over, and so you can get a bit more familiar with the connections. But boy, the connections really run deep. My in-laws, my wife's parents, lived in Shelburne Oaks for about 20 years, which is just off 329 as you're coming in from 71 into Crestwood. And Blake Hazelton and I were fraternity brothers and have been great friends for a long time. And I'll be darned if I didn't walk in this morning and the first person to walk through the door was Ronnie Winters. So he called me Rabbit, I called him Turkey, and we just picked right up from 40 years ago. And what Ronnie quickly reminded me of, which I had forgotten, but I'm glad to because I can't wait to use it. He said, before you started dating Julie, she went out with me, and then she went out with you, and heck, you married her, and y'all been married 42 years, so you can thank me for that because she was breathing a sigh of relief when she went out with you. So there you go. But great to see you again, Ronnie. Fantastic. Your local PVA, so if your taxes are too high, blame him. No problem.
You can lift that out.
Yeah, that's right. And Scott serves on our College of Business Advisory Board and has been most helpful to really an incredible College of Business at WKU. And how about Camille? She just graduated last May, and here she is at work for the Oldham Chamber. So I want to do a couple of things here this morning. A Chamber of Commerce, you're about economic development. You're about trying to drive the economy of Oldham County, and universities, first and foremost, are about driving the economy of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That's why we're a public university. There are 8 universities in Kentucky, and one of our primary core responsibilities is to drive the Commonwealth's economy and improve the quality of life for Kentuckians. And we do that in lots of ways, some of which I'm going to touch on this morning. But just real quick, in Oldham County, 262 students. You read it on 42 Honors College students. Really important point. I'll talk a bit about the Honors College in a minute. Right at a 3.0 GPA for students coming from Oldham County. So you're sending us great students. You're sending us a lot of students. And that's a very important dynamic that we want to continue to pursue here in Oldham County. You also have 8 students in the Gatton Academy for Math and Science. Again, I'll get into that a little bit more, but that is a big deal, that many students at the Gatton Academy from one county in Kentucky. And we have, by our record, 762 alumni living in Oldham County. So the tie is deep with Oldham County, and we want to continue to build on that. I was hired in 1997 as president, and it's great to be back at your alma mater. That's a rare circumstance. I'm the only university president in Kentucky that happens to be president of at least in Kentucky's case right now, that we're all guys that are presidents of the universities. So I'm the only one who's president of his alma mater. And maybe that's somewhat why I've been able to still be in my honeymoon after 17 years on the job. There's a great deal of passion, there's energy, there's a commitment, and while everybody may not agree with every decision or every action, there's a high level of confidence that we're on the same page and people are focused on pursuing our very bold vision to be a leading American university with international reach. It's been very satisfying to be in this job at a place that both Julie and I hold very dear. And we did start dating our sophomore year. We met our sophomore year, started dating our junior year, got married our senior year. Both our sons graduated from WKU. We got a yellow lab at home named Spirit and a little English Cocker Spaniel named Diddle. So we are all in. we are all in. But just over the last 17 years, there's some things that have occurred that will kind of be relevant to what I want to talk about this morning. First of all, the Board of Regents then hired me to lead a transformation. That's what they were looking for. Our board at that time realized that WKU was rather complacent at that point in time. The campus was a little bit tired, and we were not achieving our full potential as a university. And so they knew we needed to be something far more national and international than regional. And the board and I agreed in our very first meeting that we will never see the word regional in our vocabulary. We don't want any part of anything that's regional in context. The best way we can serve Kentucky is to compete nationally in everything we do, hire faculty that are national and internationally acclaimed, and recruit students not only from Kentucky, from across the globe, and build an honors college of world-class caliber, and that's just what we've done. I'm going to go through some things that validate the achievement of that vision that the board challenged me to pursue 17 years ago, and we've been about a complete transformation of an institution, and it's something we're very proud of. As was said, our enrollment's gone from 14 to 21,000 students over that period of time. Our acceptance rate is higher. You got to have a 2.5 GPA and at least the national average, which is 20.8 on the ACT. There are exceptions to that, given circumstances, but by and large, those are our admission standards. Our degree productivity, more important than size, is degree productivity. We've gone from graduating 2,500 students a year into the Kentucky workplace to 4,000 students a year, and I'm going to tell you why that's important in a few minutes. We have completed $841 million in capital construction since I've been president. The important thing is there, $190 million of that has come from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The balance, we've been very entrepreneurial. We've created bond projects. The city, we've worked with the city and county in their bond capacity. We worked with a tax incremental financing district, which I'll touch on in a minute, in Bowling Green. We've did an off-balance sheet recapitalization and renovated every one of our residence halls. Long before that was a popular thing to do, every one of our residence halls have been completely rebuilt, state-of-the-art facilities for a high quality of life on our campus. And so we have transformed physically the place itself. The state has helped us build buildings for journalism and science and engineering and biology and education. Our students, with student fees, have helped renovate the Campus Student Union, which just opens, in fact, next week. $50 million doesn't buy what it used to, but it can still get you a pretty good building renovation. Students have helped pay for a renovation of our Performing Arts Center on campus and a music building and our Student Health and Activity Center. Our alumni have built an alumni center on campus, and the community has helped build a nursing, doctor of nursing practice, nursing program, doctor of physical therapy building on the medical center campus in Bowling Green, using the medical center's debt capacity and tax incremental financing revenue, TIF revenue, to pay the debt service, and then an increment in the nursing tuition covers the operations of that building. So classic public-private partnerships driving up healthcare services that serve our region and hospital providers, healthcare providers like Baptist here across Kentucky. Parking lots, we've expanded the football stadium when we made the move into 1A at the FBS level in football. We've renovated Diddle Arena. Our athletic facilities are first rate. We're very proud of the improvements that have been made there. We've improved our regional campuses in Owensboro, Elizabethtown, and Glasgow with new facilities. In fact, in Davis County, they wanted to drive up their bachelor's degree attainment in the Owensboro area. And so the first time in Kentucky's history that a municipality actually built a facility for a university in order to expand our campus in Owensboro in order to drive up their bachelor degree attainability. So those kinds of partnerships are what has been at the core of making things work and at least in our region of the state. New engineering degrees, electrical, mechanical, civil engineering, because Kentucky had 0.6 engineers in the workplace and the national average is 1.6 compared to population in other states. We're trying to drive up the number of engineers that go to work in Kentucky, a huge factor in economic development. We've got the largest online enrollment of all the 8 universities in Kentucky. We understand how important it is. I was talking with someone whose son completed an online degree from WKU after finishing up at JCC and working with UPS, right? Yes. Did I get that right? Yep. Good, okay. So we have some 6,000 students that are enrolled online, and even students living in residence halls may be taking a full-time load, but they might take an online course because they can, because it's convenient, it's a way to knock something out. about 50 majors that are completely online. We have a contract with the New York City Teachers Federation to get a master's degree in speech pathology because they need communications disorders help in the New York City schools. So we graduate about 40 students a year with a ceremony in New York. None of those students have ever stepped foot on campus, but we're the provider by contract for the New York City Teachers Federation in communications disorders. That's what we're doing, understanding the marketplace and fill those voids and allow people to complete their higher education in ways that are convenient to them. But we have students online in all the states and most countries on most continents. We have 9 joint admissions agreements, very important for transfer students, where a student is enrolled at a KCTCS institution while being jointly enrolled at WKU, so we start the advising process to make sure that's a seamless. So we have the largest number of transfer students of all 8 universities in Kentucky, students coming from KCTCS institutions into WKU. But we have joint admissions agreements with KCTCS institutions in Bowling Green, Elizabethtown, Henderson, Hopkinsville, Madisonville, Owensboro, Somerset, Volunteer State in Gallatin, Tennessee, and Ivy Tech in Evansville. So joint admissions agreements, seamless. So we're trying to drive up transfer and bachelor degree completion for students from community colleges across our part of the country. So we're proud of that fact that it's a seamless transfer process for students to come in having completed an associate degree. Many of you are aware that we made the move in football 6 or 7 years ago, struggled for a couple of years. Now we're rocking and rolling with 3 winning seasons, and we're very proud of Louisvillian Jeff Brom, who's our head coach, and we're quite satisfied with the fact that Bobby Petrino paid us $350,000 to be our coach for a year. He had a $850,000 contract and a $1.2 million buyout, so we were just fine with how that worked out. And Jeff Brom was our associate head coach, and we kind of knew where that was heading, and he kept our coaching staff intact. That we had 5 of the most seasoned coaches on last year's staff are on our staff today, and pleased that worked out that way, and so we're very encouraged about where we're heading as we move into Conference USA, which is a new conference for us. We've only been in 2 conferences in the last 65 years, but in both cases, going back historically to the Ohio Valley Conference and for the last 32 years in the Sun Belt Conference, we've had more than twice as many conference championships as any other member of either conference over that period of time. So we expect to have the same level of success and performance in Conference USA with TV contracts on CBS and Fox, 6 bowl ties, completely different dynamic, considerably more revenue. And so we intend to be as relevant in our athletic programs as we are with our academic programs and other university efforts. We've had 2 capital campaigns, 98 to 2003, and then 2007 to 2012. First one raised $102 million, last one $202 million. And we're continuing to build our endowment and really pursue private gifts that give us a capacity to do things that are important. And Gatton Academy for Math and Science. We realized Kentucky needed to have something that focused on gifted and talented students, and so we created the Gatton Academy for Kentucky's high school juniors and seniors who are highly gifted and talented. I'm going to tell you why that is particularly relevant to what we're about. We're expanding our research, our international reach. We sent 642 students last year to study abroad. We want to get to 10% of our student population that studies abroad. While we want 10% of our student population, we want 90% of our honors college students studying abroad. So we have about 1,200 students in our honors college. And we also are recruiting the Globe to Bowling Green. If a student cannot study abroad, we've got slightly over 1,200 international students on our campus, bringing the international community, other cultures, other religions, other histories, other dynamics, political and economical, to our campus to make sure that our students graduate with a global context in what they do. So why does all this matter? Universities are here to support Kentucky in 3 ways: quantity, quality, and relevancy. We've got to drive up the number of degree holders that go into the Kentucky workplace, that go to work for your companies. And we're doing just that. We're providing the volume. We have the second largest undergraduate population in Kentucky, and we produce the second largest number of degrees in Kentucky, and we intend to continue to drive those numbers up to make sure that we've got a workforce that can do what we need to drive this state's economy forward. So quantity does matter. We're no longer, at least at WKU, just about educating students. That's a means to a much more important end, and that more important end is the quality of life for Kentuckians and an economic capacity that allows for a better quality of life. And that's what we're focused on at WKU, whether it's in the Bowling Green area, whether it's in Louisville area, Lexington, Owensboro, Glasgow, Hopkinsville, Madisonville, Elizabethtown. That's where our focus is, and so we're focused on driving up the quality of life of everyone within our reach as an institution. And we've got a philosophy at WKU, two things that kind of drive our personality. Well, three things. First of all, the WKU spirit is as much about the heart as it is the head, and that's what we're focused on. Those skills that you look for, in addition to the skill sets that you get from your chosen profession. We know you're going to be a good accountant when you graduate from accounting. But we want you to have those things that lead to success as you apply that accounting degree: self-confidence, self-esteem, energy, determination, drive, the ability to think and reason. All those things are what the WKU personality as an institution is about. But we also are focused on us. We don't worry much about what goes on in Louisville or Lexington or in any other campus across America. We're focused on achieving our potential and being the best institution we can possibly be, and achieving our 7-word vision to become a leading American university with international reach. And everything we do is focused on how does that help achieve that vision. And that's what we're about as an institution. For the first few years on the job, I kind of chuckle. A lot of people accused of, well, there's a little too much mission creep going on here. And I was quick to stop that because, I found that actually a little bit insulting. We're not creeping whatsoever. It's all about mission sprint. We're changing as fast as we possibly can in every possible way we can for Kentucky. Have been going through a transformation. And so I didn't like being accused of creeping whatsoever. There's nothing slow moving about us. We're aggressive, we're in pursuit of something bold, and that's exactly what Kentucky needs from all of its universities in order to ensure that you're getting what you need from the higher education community across Kentucky. And so that whole suggestion that we're involved in mission creep has long time gone away, because you betcha we are. And I would hope every institution in Kentucky is as well, understanding what Kentucky needs and then how are we going to attain that to help Kentucky be successful. So quantity is important, but so is quality. And we've carved out a niche at WKU that is helping to address the quality dynamic. We've had a Center for Gifted Studies for over 30 years. We're focused on gifted and talented education. We've got programs for elementary, middle grades, high school students all over the campus throughout the year, especially in the summertime. We're the location for the World Council on Gifted Education chose to move its headquarters from Winnipeg to Bowling Green 4 or 5 years ago because of our Center for Gifted Studies and what we're doing for gifted education. We created the Gatton Academy because Kentucky did not have an academy for gifted and talented high school juniors and seniors, so we now have that on our campus, right in the middle of our campus. Put about $11 million into a residence hall that we converted to be the home for the Gatton Academy. So 60 juniors, 60 seniors, they apply in their sophomore year. And we're expanding it, by the way, going over the next year or two to 200. So we'll have 100 juniors, 100 seniors, and they complete 60 hours of college credit. But when they graduate from the academy, they've completed their junior and senior year at WKU. So basically, they're high school juniors and seniors, but they're freshmen and sophomores at WKU. And the Gatton Academy, for the last 2 years, has been named the #1 high school in America by Newsweek magazine. The #1. Now, when was the last time Kentucky in education had anything that was #1? The #1 high school in America is located on WKU's campus, the Gatton Academy for Math and Science. And what makes it work is the Gatton Academy, it's all live-in, it's residential, they're completely programmed, but it has no faculty. All the faculty are our faculty, teaching honors college courses, credentialed, tenured PhDs, teaching high school juniors and seniors. Every one of them are involved in undergraduate research projects. Most of them study abroad. Most of them go to our campus in Grantham, England, WKU in England, that we share with the University of Evansville, called Harlexton. 50 of them were just there, just got back last week, spent most of the summer there. The Gatton Academy is an amazing success story for Kentucky, but it's an economic development strategy. The state invests $4.8 million a year in the Gatton Academy, and it's designed to keep these students in Kentucky. Heretofore, before the Gatton Academy, very few of Kentucky's highly gifted and talented students stayed in Kentucky to go to higher education, let alone go to work, because they were being, they had opportunities in East Coast, West Coast, Ivy League, whatever. But when we created the Gatton Academy, they spent their junior and senior year, Kentucky invested in them, and now most of these students are going to pursue their bachelor's degree at a Kentucky institution. Half or better are staying at WKU. UK gets the next largest share, U of L gets a few. A couple have gone to Center over the years. But even if they go away to MIT or University of Chicago or Stanford or Caltech, maybe to get a degree that's not offered at a Kentucky institution, nuclear engineering or whatever, they know that Kentucky did something, and so they're coming back to Kentucky to go to work. The statistics are beginning to validate that. So this was an economic development strategy for Kentucky, and the Commonwealth, the General Assembly could have put that academy at any of the 8 institutions, but chose WKU because of our Center for Gifted Studies, because that's been our niche. The third leg of this stool that I'm describing for you is the WKU Honors College. We created the honors, we had an honors program for years, but we created an independent honors college about 8 years ago, where students actually earn a degree. Beginning this year, the students will be able to pursue an MPhil, a Master of Philosophy degree, while they're an undergraduate, simultaneous to earning a baccalaureate degree, only in the honors college. It's an independent degree-granting college, 1,200 students, about the same size as Center in Transylvania. And we track all the same academic measures, but they exceed the academic measures at either Center or Transylvania. If the Honors College at WKU were an independent private liberal arts institution, which is how we package it and how we do it, they're just surrounded by the infrastructure of a large university. But if it were a private liberal arts institution of 1,200 students, it would be the 14th ranked private liberal arts college in America, based on academic standards. ACT score well over 30. Incredible students, working hard, surrounded by peers of equal ability. It's a highly intellectual, stimulating environment that we're very proud of. So, Center for Gifted Studies, the Gatton Academy, the only independent honors college of any university campus in Kentucky. We've created the intellectual heartbeat of Kentucky in Bowling Green at WKU, and that's precisely what we intended to do and what's good for Kentucky. And those students are now staying here, going to work for a company like yours, and that is what's defining the WKU learning experience today. Another important thing that's changed over the last few years is WKU had never really produced many of the major national and international prestigious scholarship winners over the years. Fulbrights, Goldwaters, Gilmans, Marshalls, Mitchells, Rhodes Scholars, Gates Cambridge, NSF, National Science Foundation fellowships. Well, we've gone from a few till this past year we had 42 students earn national prestigious scholarships over $1 million, and that's operating at an Ivy League pace in terms of the production of national competitive scholarship winners that colleges and universities strive to achieve. We had our first Rhodes finalist, a Marshall finalist, Gates Cambridge, 5 Fulbrights this year. Each university can achieve 4 Goldwaters, which is the most prestigious award in the sciences for colleges and universities in America. We had 3 and 1 alternate. Only 17 universities in America performed at that level. So we are beginning to do things that further create that intellectual heartbeat at Kentucky, and those students mostly are coming out of our honors college. A lot of them came out of the Gatton Academy. The student this year that was a finalist for a Rhodes and a Gates Cambridge came out of the Gatton Academy. She chose WKU over Princeton and MIT because she wanted to be in our Chinese flagship program, which I'll touch on in just a minute. And she graduated this past year, and she now has a $500,000 fellowship at Cornell to study diseases. An amazing scholar that's going to make a difference in the world. Her name is Sarah Schrader. So at any rate, high acceptances to med schools. By the way, those 42 students are doing their studies right now in 19 different countries while they're on those scholarships. But we got to be relevant. Quantity, quality, and relevancy. So we have eliminated, 30 or 40 majors over the last several years. We've added 15 or 20 majors to making sure that our curriculum is relevant for what the workplace needs and what you need to hire. So our focus is to make sure that our students are studying degrees that the Kentucky workplace needs, and that we're also involved in applied research. Now, at UK and U of L, a lot of the research is basic research, the search for new knowledge, as it should be. We're driving up research at the undergraduate level, which is a better niche for us, and we're more engaged in applied research, which is taking existing knowledge and using it to solve problems in communities that surround us. I often refer to us as the 21st century land-grant university. The whole land-grant movement was about solving problems in communities across this nation. That's what we're focused on doing these days. And we've got undergraduate majors in energy and water quality and cyber defense and a whole range of things that are pertinent to not only the Kentucky but the national and international workplace. We're very serious about engaging our students in hands-on, practice-based learning. Our engineering programs are undergraduate in electrical, mechanical, and civil engineering. We have about 650 students in our 3 engineering programs, graduating at about 100 a year. But when they graduate, they're ready to go onto the shop floor, onto the job site, and go to work. They get their hands dirty while they're students. Many of you, and sometimes experiences come along that we're prepared to do that maybe we didn't anticipate when we got up that morning. Like when the cave collapse roof, the sinkhole as it was called at the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green several months ago, our students were immediately called in, and within a matter of days they perfected a drone drones had never flown below the surface of the ground before. They're always up somewhere. They perfected a drone that would go below the surface to understand exactly the dynamics of this huge hole in the ground. And it really wasn't a sinkhole, it was a collapse of a cave roof that happened to be under this building. And so our students created this drone and ended up on network news across the country, really across the globe. But they were prepared and they're still involved in securing the site and helping the General Motors and the Corvette Museum determine what's safe and what will become of that big hole in the ground, which is now a cave because you look down in it and you see the cave going in either direction and there's a big pile of dirt in the middle and rock. An amazing experience. But our students in geography and geology and cave and car studies, we're one of 9 universities in America that has a degree program in cave and car studies because that's important for South Central Kentucky. Now it's beginning to be important in Florida and other places around the globe as well. SkyTeach, relevancy, putting students in our public schools to teach. We're one of 11 universities funded by the National Math and Science Initiative, started with a grant from ExxonMobil and the National Math and Science Initiative. But we've got about 250 students that are going to be teachers, but they're not majoring in education. They're majoring in biology, chemistry, math, physics, and they want to teach. So they're scholars funded by ExxonMobil, and we've raised another couple $1 million to support the ExxonMobil funding. Part of the U-Teach program, which started at the University of Texas, started at the University of Texas. But these are scholars that will go into our classrooms teaching in the STEM disciplines and they are in high demand as these students graduate from the SkyTeach, Southern Kentucky Teach program. Internationalization, we're one of 9 universities in America that's got a Chinese flagship program because Chinese is relevant in this global economy. The Department of Defense has 22 institutions they've identified that offer programs in the 4, as our U.S. government defines the 4 future world languages: Chinese, Russian, Swahili, and Arabic. And we're now starting a program in Arabic. But we're one of 9 Chinese flagship programs in America where we have over 50, right, 52 students that are in complete immersion in the Chinese language, reading, writing, speaking. But they're majoring in business. They're majoring in other things. And the reason the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, funds the flagship program is because they want to put these students to work in jobs in China, in relevant jobs with degrees that help build that bridge economically. So hopefully we don't have to invest in defense systems with places like China and Russia and Africa, Swahili, and obviously the Middle East. We're very proud to be named one of the Chinese flagship programs. But we also have majors in Asian studies and Chinese and so forth as well. But our internationalization is very important. We know we cannot achieve the first 4 words of that vision, a leading American university, unless we're achieving the last 3 with international reach. So we want our students to study abroad, but if they can't, we're going to bring the world to them. And we want students that can be confident and comfortable in a global context in whatever type of job they have. So we are making sure our curriculum is relevant and doing the things that you need to be done in a high-quality manner. So we've changed a lot, but a few things that haven't changed are the things that have kind of defined WKU for a long time. The campus itself, an incredible campus. We've reinvested in it. It's the high quality of life. It's a very pleasant place. When students get up in the morning and walk across campus, they're inspired to achieve what they're capable of doing. And that's exactly what we want. 17-to-1 faculty-student ratio, very important. And that WKU personality of spirit and energy and drive and passion are what we look for, and they're what you look for. You're a Chamber of Commerce. There is an article on your table. Hold that article up, Scott. That was in the New York Times last week, actually Wednesday a week ago. Now, we didn't, I would like to, Robin Taylor is with me here. Robin's our Vice President for Public Affairs. As much as we'd like to say, oh yeah, we worked hard to get that article placed, that's not the way it works with the New York Times. They called us, and they said, we are quite aware of what you all are doing in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We have the most successful TIF in Kentucky. It's the Tax Incremental Financing District. It's a great public-private partnership. There's been over $250 million in projects completed in the Bowling Green TIF, and the state incentives are now kicking in, funding those public-private partnerships. And we're doing projects at both ends. The nursing building and the medical center at one end of the TIF, and the other end starts at our campus. In fact, our TIF in Bowling Green is called WKU Gateway to Downtown Bowling Green. So we're doing things to drive economic opportunity, economic development, growth, prosperity in the Bowling Green economy, in the Bowling Green market, because that's where we're located. But that article is a pretty good example of how we are helping to make some pretty cool things happen across our community, and the university is the impetus for that economic development. And that's exactly why public universities exist, and why we want to continue to be the key for not just the Bowling Green area, but for Kentucky as a whole. And we're not worried about geography. We're not worried about whatever anybody may want to have in terms of what's any institution should or shouldn't be doing. What's Kentucky need? How are we going to deliver? And how we're going to make sure that our students have a global experience from WKU. So that's what we're about. That's why universities are important to Kentucky, and they're important to chambers of commerce across Kentucky. So thank you for allowing me to come and speak for a few minutes today. I'm not sure exactly what your practice is, but Dina said that normally you like to have some Q&A, and as long as Ronnie Winters doesn't start telling stories from 40 years ago, we'll be okay. But that's a two-way street, so yeah.
I'll keep quiet if you will.
But a lot of you have had sons and daughters. Some of you are graduates. Several of you have indicated as much, and that's terrific. And in fact, I've even put a degree in a couple of your hands. There you go, back over there, and somebody else. There you go. So you stay in this job long enough, and I've presided over 59 WKU commencement ceremonies. So pretty cool stuff. What can I respond to that might be on your mind that maybe you've read about or heard about, maybe that I didn't touch on that would be helpful or insightful to you? Yes?
Speaking on relevancy, I think that brain drain is something that affects a lot of the states in the Midwest. Kentucky is certainly one of them.
Yes.
What specifically is WKU doing to work with industries to make sure that students are well prepared for the new environments that we live in? Technology and these things are really driving a new pace for industry that it hasn't existed before. We're in a new era. And what are we doing to help make sure that those students really do stay in Kentucky and help develop Kentucky to be an economic powerhouse for this?
Well, the Gatton Academy is probably the best example. Now, that's a small number, granted, but it's an important number because of the intellectual strength of those students. They're going to be the inventors, they're going to be the entrepreneurs, they're going to be the difference makers in companies all over Kentucky. So that's one thing that we specifically and the Commonwealth of Kentucky is doing to keep our most talented in Kentucky to go to work. So that's one thing. But again, making sure our curriculum is relevant, making sure that we have the degree programs that are relevant to the jobs in Kentucky. And it's different. We have we have 3 regional campuses in Owensboro, Elizabethtown, and Glasgow. Our curriculum on our regional campus in Owensboro is quite a different curriculum than in Elizabethtown, than in Glasgow. Now, the main campus has all the above. But the primary elements in Owensboro, there's a strong agricultural base in Owensboro. Education, of course, is important, whereas in Elizabethtown, a completely different focus on education, on healthcare, and the service sector, leadership, particularly with Fort Knox and the military-related jobs at Fort Knox with leadership and human resources and technology. And in Glasgow, we're trying to serve about a 8 or 10 county region that feeds into our 2,500 student regional campus in Glasgow. So it's more of a broad-based curriculum. Being relevant with the degree programs that we offer, starting the engineering degree programs were huge to create a 3rd engineering school in Kentucky. We're working hard. You hear a lot in Kentucky about this golden triangle of Louisville, Lexington, Northern Kentucky. Well, we don't. We're creating a golden rectangle. We're going down the I-65 corridor, and so that and the economy is vibrant and meeting understanding what Kentucky's needs are, and the different sectors, the different regions. And Kentucky is a state made up of lots of regions, and you have to understand that. And I know that the other universities are doing much the same thing, and that's good for Kentucky, which is why it's so frustrating. I'm giving you a roundabout answer here, but why it's so frustrating that the state keeps cutting higher education's budget is because higher education's Kentucky's hope for an economic, not only economic stability, but economic prosperity. And I just don't think our General Assembly gets that. And so Robin also covers our legislative activities both in Frankfort and Washington, and we go to Frankfort, and we're there playing defense as much as we are offense. I mean, just trying to hang on to what we got, let alone try to get something done. For the most part, we're working on the same page, but boy, it's a challenge politically sometimes.
Gary, it might be interesting for the audience if you share the percentage of funding that used to come from the state for the universities versus what it is today.
Boy, I'm glad you're paying attention to those board meetings you're going to. Good man, that's good. when I began as president in 1997, we had about a $130 million budget, and about 50% of our budget was coming from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It was about $65 million at the time. Today, our budget's about $400 million, and our state appropriation is $72 million. So we've gone from 51% of our budget to 17% of our budget coming from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Now, our budget has grown, state appropriation hasn't. We've had a few up years, we've had many, many more down years, and we've not had an increase in state appropriations since the 2006 General Assembly. The recession started in 2008, and we've had $16 million cut out of our budget since 2008. UK and U of L, even more than that. So yeah, but that's just driven us to be entrepreneurial, to find other ways to get things done, to be focused on, I can't wring my hands about what Frankfort's not doing for us. I gotta stay focused on what we can create and achieve. Private support, sponsor research, entrepreneurial programs, off-balance sheet recapitalization of properties, using a debt capacity of the city or the county or the medical center in Bowling Green we were doing pretty well when earmarks were as part of the federal government. Senator McConnell has been terrific to us, and we were getting between $10 and $15 million a year in direct appropriations for important scholarly research programs that are important to Kentucky. So we've missed that as well for the last few years as direct appropriations in the federal budget have gone away. So yeah, it's a challenge, but yeah, 17% of our budget is now coming from the state, and we're handling the rest of it. Tuition's a big driver. I mean, tuition's gone up. We're now close to $200 million of our budget comes from tuition, but it's still a bargain. And our total cost of attendance at WKU is something just under $18,000 a year, tuition, room, board, books for a student who lives on campus. But a great return on that investment. Yeah, I do have a Federal Reserve Board meeting downtown in the National City Bank building at 10 o'clock. So I'm speaking to the senior class at Trinity this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So good day in the Oldham County, Jefferson County area. Anything else I can respond to?
I just have one that, oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Deb. No,
Yeah.
okay. I was just going to ask, we're working really hard to attract companies, excuse me, and expand companies that are in our community, in our region. And we are hearing more and more from company executives that it's not that they're not necessarily prepared from a skills perspective. They'll train them, to get whatever maybe that particular industry is. It's about keeping them, they don't pass drug tests, they don't show up for work. Those are challenges that I think our whole state needs to face. But how can companies work with chambers? And then together, what is the best way for us to work together and then work with universities, education institutions at both the high school level and the college level, so we can start making a difference, not just in the skill sets, but maybe in that area? I know that's an odd question, but.
Well, no, not necessarily. It does take that kind of teamwork, and I presume that a lot of the jobs that you're describing are manufacturing line jobs, and I understand that, and those are the students that are not likely to pursue a higher education for any number of reasons, although we're working at that. But we also want to make sure we're producing graduates not only that have degrees that you need, but have the skill sets to get that first job and to be successful in that first job, which goes back to that, it's much about the heart as it is the head kind of a thing. But we need to work with chambers to be sure we understand what you're needing in your area so that we can make sure our curriculum is geared accordingly. And we try to be very nimble and creating the programs that meet the job needs of any given region. We work closely with chambers across our primary region, certainly in Bowling Green, Glassboro, Owensboro, Elizabethtown, and points in between. But it is a challenge. Technology we know is critically important. They've got to have the technological skills, so we want all of our graduates not only have a comfort in some other language and some other global, but also know the technical skills. We want our students to be able to communicate and write, to be able to speak, And those skills are really important in most any job. So we are working closely with KCTCS, and it's KCTCS' primary job to provide those technical related line jobs that you're talking about. But the hourly wage, that's probably the biggest challenge for manufacturing in Kentucky, are the hourly wage jobs that you need dedicated, talented, hardworking people in those jobs too. And without the education, that's a little bit more of a challenge. And so it goes back to the quantity and the quality that Kentucky needs. So we just need to know what our chambers across the state need, and we'll do our best to try to provide it, at least from a higher education standpoint.
Thank you. We are starting to host a lot of industry circles on particular skill sets. We just recently did one with manufacturers, and that is one of their biggest concerns, that people just don't have drug-free for work. And then so many of them are actually starting to want at least certifications in something, if not
Yeah.
4-year degrees, and I think that can oftentimes lead for some people.
We have a lot of online programs, and that's the thing about our division of extended learning and outreach. It's very nimble, and we can create this is something that's really growing on our campus, mainly online, is creating certifications, 3 or 4 or 5 courses in a given skill set that leads to a certification, not necessarily a degree. And we can create those to serve the needs of these 28 employees at a given corporation. We can do that rather quickly, as long as we know. But that's a lot of the problem is we don't know unless a corporation comes to us and says we need, and then we can structure those 5 courses that leads to a certification in a given skill set to meet a given corporation's need. And the way that usually works is the corporation pays for that rather than the employee, but they're getting the benefit of having that certification for that employee group.
One of my favorite things is how you talk about how you're trying to tie it all together with the heart and the spirit, so.
Yep.
And the spirit of Oldham County, we are so happy that you're here. It's really exciting to know you were coming the last couple of weeks and then to have you here. You're a great guest. And
Well, thank you.
we're honored that you would be with us. So
Good to be here. Thank you all very much.